come up. She asked me to sit in for it. And basically, I think this is just going to be some information. Mr. Ruby's going to give us a little information, what's going on, what our next steps are, and things like that. I'm going to turn the meeting over to him and let him explain to us what's going on.
I'm mainly here to answer you all's questions. I'll give you an update on the project itself and where we stand with the courthouse project. Here's extra copies. Yeah. Here's another one. They're just curled up. So the courthouse. The courthouse project is bid, and there were 4 bidders. I've got a copy of the bid tab sheet with me. They ranged in price from 11.1 million low bid to 13.2, I believe, was the high bid. Our budget going into this, right before the bid, if we catch up some of the things that were added during design, like the doors, some improved landscaping, we felt the bid might come in somewhere around 11.9. So we were very happy to see the bid come in 11.1. So we can say this thing came in under budget, which doesn't happen a whole lot in our business, to be honest with you. So we were pretty enthusiastic about that. So we feel that the bid went really well, considering the participation, considering where we landed with the bid itself. So when the jobs are competitively bid like this, we always talk to the low bid. In the case of this project, CNI out of Jonesboro is the low bid, 11.1. There's a $833,000 spread between CNI and the next person in line. Alessi Keys, their bid was 11.9. $833,000 is a lot of money. So we just wanted to ask the question, which we normally do, are you guys comfortable with this bid? The bid itself does not allow them to withdraw the bid. They all submit bid bonds. There's bonding companies standing behind those bids, so they're obligated to provide everything that's in the drawings and specs on this project for 11.1 million. So they're obligated to do that. But we just feel it's usually a good professional courtesy to ask them that question, just to make sure they feel good about their bid. Give them the opportunity to withdraw if they discover a problem. So we have asked that question. They have come back and said they feel good about it. We asked a few more harder questions. They came back to us and told us what they think. We think that there are maybe a couple of areas in this project where they have interpreted our drawings and specs maybe wrongly. But maybe that explains why there's that spread. But at the end of the day, like I said, they're obligated to provide what is drawn and specified for 11.1 million. So I've worked with CNI before in the past on a project in Jonesboro, in Paragould rather. It went really well. I've got past clients that have worked with them before on other projects, including very high-end historic restorations projects where quality of work and workmanship is of paramount importance. They did a very good job on that project, and this client of mine that I know of is the most perfection-minded to a fault, actually, his expectations. And if CNI can impress him, that's saying something. So I think they're a good contractor. So I think you've got a good price from a good contractor. I don't see any strong reason why you would not award the project to CNI. I think that's how I feel about it. As far as some of these other things that I think we might have found where they've misinterpreted stuff, it happens on every project. A lot of these projects can be messy, during the process in the job trailer when you're having your talks about this and that. There are arguments, and others, but at the end of the day, these guys are professional. We want to stay professional and get it built. I do feel like they've got that mindset. They understand that it takes everybody on this project to build it successfully. So we're excited about moving ahead with the project. We wanted to make sure that you guys didn't have any questions on it.
I'll just interject that if you're interested in seeing CNI's work, they did the building at the college, the newest one, the aviation center, the Allied Health, or the Allied Technologies. They also did the nursing building out there, or the Allied Health building. I've worked with them on both of those. So.
Where are they out of?
Jonesboro.
What does CNI stand for?
CNI stands for Construction Network, Inc. And they're probably, well, I don't know this for a fact. I mean, I think they're generally one of the larger general contractors that are based in Northeast Arkansas as far as number of employees and the projects they work on.
What's CNI stand for?
Construction Network, Inc.
Aaron, when you mentioned 11.1, did that include, I know there was some changes on the roof project and so forth. Did that include the roof project and so forth?
That does not include the roof project.
Okay.
So that is separate. So there's a separate contractor, a separate bid for the roof project.
Is there anything back on that yet?
Yes, we've got a bid on that. That company name is Renaissance Roofing. They're out of Chicago area, and they specialize in high-end roofs like this. They travel across the country, so they do a lot of county courthouses, churches, steep, complicated roofs, a lot of copper and slate tile. That's just what they do. Which is partly the reason why we wanted to bid this separate, was because we wanted to be sure that we had somebody that really knew what they were doing, especially on the Osceola Dome. That copper work is extremely intricate and detailed. So we wanted to be sure we had somebody that really knew what they were doing.
Molly sent me a couple of emails. Basically, as I'm understanding it, Renaissance is going to handle everything above the Cornish on this.
Right.
So CNI will be responsible for everything there down.
Correct. Yeah, now, as it is presently, we don't have it bid that cleanly. As it is right now, Renaissance Roofing is doing strictly the roof part, the flashing, but they're not doing any brick repointing work or stucco repair on the wall that's directly below that roof. We've since talked to both Renaissance and CNI about some possible cost savings. As it is right now, both contractors have scaffolding the Blytheville Courthouse in their bid. So there's money to come back to Mississippi County by asking one of them to be responsible for scaffold and the other one not to be. So I got a price back from Renaissance Roofing, it's about $80,000, that would come back to Mississippi County to have CNI do the scaffold, which makes sense because they're going to have a lot more work to do on the building than just the roofer. But what we would prefer to do, Renaissance Roofing doesn't just do the roof also, but they've got some masons on staff that are accustomed to terracotta repair, which you have on both Blytheville Courthouse and Osceola. On the Osceola Courthouse, you have some terracotta pieces that are missing. You've also got terracotta that's spalled, where the glaze has come off, exposing the body, what they call the bisque of the terracotta piece. There are cracks. There are pieces that are coming loose. There are products and methods for patching that stuff, which you need to do in order to keep the water out, preserve that terracotta. There is no trade in Arkansas, no company in Arkansas that I know of that's familiar with terracotta repair and restoration. They're just not around. So Renaissance Roofing, because what they do, they travel nationally, they come across this all the time. So on churches and other county courthouses, it's common to come across terracotta repair. So I would feel more comfortable, I think you would be better served if we asked Renaissance to handle that terracotta on the Blytheville Courthouse and going up, which would also mean there are no crews from CNI that have to get up on the roof. So it's fully Renaissance's responsibility from this line up. Nobody from CNI or any other subcontractors have to get up to that point. So there's no one, pointing each other's fingers. If somebody steps on somebody else, some other trades work, it's a little cleaner. So that would be what we would prefer. it would just mean that there would be we would have to get credit back from CNI to do some of that work, and then ask Renaissance to do it. So we need to negotiate, sort of fine tune some of that scope to make sure that it's covered, that you're only paying for what you're for one person to do the work.
On the old courthouse right now, we have some air conditioning units on the roof.
Right.
Will those remain there?
No. So we've got in Renaissance's scope of work to remove those units and disconnect the gas to those units, and basically just set them on the ground, and the county can do with them what the county will, but those units are coming off, they're not going back on. So there won't be any more units on the Blytheville Courthouse roof. They will be on the addition roof. It's low slope, easy to access, safer, but you won't have those units on the Blytheville Courthouse anymore.
Will some of those service the new building as well, or the
Correct.
Old building as well?
That's right.
So,
That's right. But not those units. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, okay.
Let me make a statement.
Sure.
I noticed that you've got a 2-inch stub for the sprinkler system.
Uh-huh.
I recently moved. I moved away from a 3/4 stub, which took care of 4 heads. I moved into a house that's got a 2-inch stub, which is what you've got here, that runs about 8 or 10 heads. I went from $30 a month flat fee from the water company on my 3/4 inch 4 heads to $80 a month standard fee before you get to the water usage in this 2-inch pipe. Now, I don't know, that may not be a problem for this county since we got money to burn, but
Yeah.
that's a big difference in sprinkler system.
Right.
Unless you want immediate water, I don't see why you've got 2-inch heads when it's gonna cost us $50 a month more every time that they're on. And assuming we leave them on for 12 months, that's 300 and that's expensive.
You're talking about the tap, or you're talking about the heads?
You say what I just said, you've got a 2-inch
For the
tap
irrigation.
coming up out of the ground for irrigation.
For irrigation, okay.
Listening to me.
Well, you said sprinkler, I was thinking fire suppression sprinkler.
No, this is
You mean
sprinkler.
irrigation? Good, gotcha. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so, I don't know, so there are.
Well, I'm telling you, that is a fact.
Yeah, well, I'll ask my engineers. So some of these drawings, including this one, comes from consulting engineers that we hire to help us with the design. So there are people on our team that are better versed at it than I am, and they can answer that
Well,
question.
but they don't pay the water bill every month.
You're right. So I can ask that question. Just tell them, hey, let's
I think
take it easy.
I think it's something that needs to be addressed just
Sure.
because of ongoing
Yeah,
perpetual costs.
right. No, I agree.
And where do we stand total? Project and then the roof and everything, total amount?
So I'll admit that I did not come with my piece of paper that shows me where we stand overall. When I went through the exercise prior to that bid opening, I knew where we needed to be to be within budget on overall, including the roof, including furniture, including AV, audiovisual systems in the courtrooms, anything and everything we can think of, including the moving expenses, including accounting for what we've spent so far. So we've looked at all those latest figures, and I knew that we needed to be at that 11.4 to be safe and still not burn through all that contingency. We've got a rough $1 million contingency project. So we're at 11.1. We're $300,000 less than where I knew we needed to be safe.
But you don't have Renaissance bid in that either,
No, I do have Renaissance bid.
including in the
Yes.
11.1?
Yes.
I misunderstood. I thought, what are you thinking of?
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Their number is not in the 11.1. I am accounting for their figure in the overall picture, on the overall bond issue, on the overall budget.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about $300 less, $300,000 less.
Including the $1 million contingency?
Correct. That's right.
Good.
Yeah, so we're doing good. We're doing really good. Yeah.
Right.
Molly had brought up, and this is just something I'm gonna ask about, you had apparently sent an email about, Porter Brownlee.
Yes.
What position would he play if he went back in that? What is he called?
Porter Brownlee is basically an owner's representative on construction projects. So he represents owners on large construction projects. So he is the person that could represent you regularly at construction meetings, answering questions. When the project gets going, there will be a flurry of activity and lots of questions that need to be answered quickly, just because of the nature of things. So unless the judge can be at almost every meeting, and answering those questions quickly, it's a challenging thing to do. So we think it'd probably be a good idea, to have an owner's representative there.
Is this gentleman, he would be on site every day?
No. So he is making regular visits like I am, probably every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, roughly, at important intervals to come inspect the work. So he's making regular visits, but he's not on site full time.
Okay.
But he's been around the business for a long time, so he's experienced at issues in construction. He can help, I think, when it comes to interpreting those drawings and specs. Our agreement with you and the way the general conditions is written in the spec book, we're obligated professionally to look at issues as unbiased as possible, where we look at things just strictly what does it say, and try to be fair to everybody. On the other hand, obviously we're working for you, so we're doing our best to look out for you as our client. So it would help probably to have someone that strictly has designed this.
He would be there
not
being
building it.
biased for our side.
He would be biased. Well, he's working for you, but I think because he's not been involved in the project up to this point, I think he's probably a little bit more able to look at things black and white and say, well, here's what the drawings and specs say, and be a little bit more straightforward about it, perhaps.
In essence, Aaron is, of course, on our side, works for us. And then the GC is going to be on our side and work for us. And then Porter Brownlee will be working for us, but he may be against Aaron at times, and he may be against CNI. He makes a judgment call.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be fair to the contractor. We have to be fair to other bidders. So in the case of, say hardware, for instance, and we've specified clearly what we require in the way of hardware. There is a possibility that there's something that got missed, or there's a misinterpretation with a bidder, which is more likely in this case. They've interpreted it some way that it doesn't show in our drawings. So in some cases it will be clear, this is what is required, you must put this in because this is what is required. There are other cases where it may be a little bit more of a gray area. You can understand there's a difficulty. So we'll be as fair as we can be. We can't introduce anything new to the drawings and the specs that's not there. So we can't put something on the contractor if it's not in the drawings and specs.
Right.
And conversely, if something is in there, he's required to do it. So we try to be as impartial as we can be in it, but on a project of this size and importance, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have Porter giving another layer of advice.
She told me that she mentioned a figure, but what would be the cost to hire him to do this?
I'm not certain. I haven't seen his proposal. I want to say it was around 100,000, I think.
108, I think.
108.
For the entire duration of the contract?
And that doesn't include the roof projects.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't think, with the roof project, it's kind of, I think it's pretty It's pretty well clean. I don't think there'd be anything there to argue, to misinterpret.
Yeah, I agree, although there's probably gonna be some overlap. I think it's inevitable at some point that when we're talking about the
Roofs
Plaza
are
Forest
fairly
project,
straightforward.
there'll be some roof stuff that comes up. And, Ford will just be a part of that, just by virtue of the fact, can't really separate the two, but, he's been around a long time. I think his opinion's very respected in the state.
Is that 108 included in your figures that you were adding up?
No, I did not have I did not have his fee in those figures I added up,
So
so,
the county pays him,
correct.
and he would report hopefully to the judge.
That's right.
Okay. Now I'm gonna switch hats for a minute.
Sure, yeah.
By state law now, you have to have outside engineers come in and inspect.
Correct.
Do your concrete break test, they have to also do compaction test. And I realize that the county has to pay for that. Is that included in that
Yes.
11.1 million?
Right, so
And who would be that contractor?
well,
Or that
the,
engineer?
so we don't know. So we put special inspections on the general contractor. So the general contractor has special inspections in his bid. We don't know who it is that he's got hired to provide those services, but he has to answer directly to you. So even though the contractor is paying for those services, he's required to provide them per the code. That's not an additional cost for you. So it's included in the bid. We did get a proposal from an engineer to provide those services separate. It was quite a bit of money. So we wanted to put that out there and have that bid competitively. So we're just not certain who it was that they've got as special inspectors, but there's a lot in Jonesboro. Jonesboro has a lot of inspectors.
I've worked with a
civil
couple of
engineers.
them, especially when they did the college. It was probably the same group that they used to do that.
The Renaissance Roofing, cutting out of Chicago, so they're gonna be the ones to do those solar restoration project too?
That's right. Yep, they're on both. Yep. Timeline, they want to begin on Blyville first. I think the idea is just do that one, sort of get out of the way so that CNI can do what they need to do. First thing CNI needs to do is, put up chain link fence and do a little bit of demo work, so there's some coordination that needs to go on. They've already met each other, just sort of talked a little bit about, shake hands, exchange phone numbers, and understand who's who on the project and all, but both companies are ready to get going.
Does anybody else have any questions? I could think of a couple million, but I'll let y'all ask anything that you want to know first.
Judge, the drawing that is drawn has our landscaping involved, but I think you've been in negotiations with the city council on, are they gonna let us close Chickasaw?
We haven't been in negotiations really. I have spoken to several, and my thoughts was we'd wait till this railroad thing got past us. And I'm going to speak to them later this afternoon, and we may graze that question today.
Molly shared a letter that you had sent her that
Yeah.
goes back historically, that
Yeah.
shed a lot of light on it, on that particular
I was just
deal.
kind of curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really did, and it's been a safety issue for a long time. Of course, it is the city council's discretion, I'm sure. This is a very beautiful plan that you've got put up. I hope it works out.
Yeah, we do too.
I mean, I really do.
Yeah, it's definitely a safety issue. It definitely improves safety. But I was curious. We always, on any historic project we work on, we always go back to those Sanborn insurance maps just to kind of learn a little bit about the history and development of the site.
I don't know that everybody got to see them. You want to touch on them?
Sure. So the Sanborn Fire Insurance Company was around in the early 20th century. They were paid to make maps, basically for insurance. So it went. All it did was it strictly mentioned what buildings were where, if they were brick buildings or wood frame, what kind of roof they had, how many stories, Some basic information that has to do with helping firefighters fight fires, basically, and insurance. So we get a lot of information from those maps on what was there historically. We learned from those maps that the old county jail is located on the,
Somewhere in here, isn't it? Here's the new addition here.
right, yeah, so here's Chickasaba, we think it's right here. We're gonna guess that the original foundation, the footing is still there. So
Parking lot, from what I remember.
to avoid a change order from a contractor that says, oh, we didn't know that was there, it was unforeseen, we're making him aware of it. So bid that, make sure that you bid, planning on taking out that footing. We think it's there. So that's an example of some information that we can take from that. Another piece of information, the canopies that were on the old courthouse on the east and west sides were copper and glass. So they used to be very decorative canopies. Those are since been long gone. But our plan includes putting back a period copper and glass canopy on the west side to look like the one that was there originally. And we can see it in one old photograph, so we can just barely make out enough to see that what was there. And you can still see on the building today the brackets that supported it. So that's some information we learned from the Sanborn insurance map. That Sanborn insurance map, there's one in 1908, one in 1913, one in 1923. All three show that Chickasaba stopped at 3rd. It did not go through the lot. So at some point after 1923, they carried Chickasaba through. But it wasn't there originally when the town was there. And those insurance maps show us that.
Well, the judge and I were talking one day last week, and I think everyone should realize too, and I hope the city will, that Railroad Street, under the plan, would remain open. It's north on one side, south on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But that would facilitate the flow of traffic into this extra parking lot.
Correct. Yeah.
And you wouldn't be, actually, if you're on Walnut or Main, you still have access to Walnut back to Main.
Yeah.
Closing that one dead end block is not a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Well, it's for us anyway, for the courthouse, I think it helps provide a little bit more of a secure
Sure it
way
does.
in and out for prisoners or judges and lawyers.
And access to that parking lot
Right.
here. And access to that, because you can come off Main, up Railroad and into the
Right.
parking lot.
That's right. Mhm.
I found out with working with city council in Osceola, they will pay, the railroad company will pay you to close if they won't. And if the city decides not to, they'll still shut it down and not pay them after that.
They do pretty well what they want to.
Yeah, they do, so it'd be advised for the city council of Blah will go ahead and take the money from them to close it. They're aware of that,
I think that's been in the paper too, so.
so.
Sorry for not bringing the bigger set of drawings. There's a lot to it. You're certainly welcome to.
Where are we at on the interior design and stuff, Aaron?
Well, so we've got a good level of finish is already specified. So porcelain tile in the public spaces and the bathrooms, good solid surface countertops and high quality millwork. So we've got in the budget, in the bid, high quality interiors. We've got a budget of roughly $750,000 for furniture. So we've
Are you looking at every office,
Yes.
replacing all the furniture in every office?
correct, yep, including both courtrooms for the pews and the jurors and new jury seating. So pretty much everything, get new furniture. So we've started the process, meaning we've met with most of the elected officials and talked about what their needs are, and we've had a pretty good idea of number of workstations and expectations of quality and how they sort of function and work. But after we get under contract, the next step will be to meet with each of them again and really nail down okay, these are the options, what kind of laminate do you want here and there, really nail down the actual options. And then that will be bid. So there'll be a separate project where the furniture is bid out to vendors for providing and installing the furniture.
We're well within budget. You've done a
Yeah.
really good job. What's your biggest concern regarding our budget? What's your scary thing?
Scary thing. Well, the budget in general is just always something you're always concerned about. I know how important it is to you all. We feel like we've done pretty well at keeping tabs on everything. So we're based on where we're at right now, we feel really good about the overall budget. I think we can get it done for where we're at right now. My concern moving forward is just, knowing the bid from CNI is as low as it is, what maybe some things that they were planning on that's different than what our plans and specs show, and seeing how that turns out. On one hand, it doesn't matter. I know what my drawings and specs say, so they're obligated to provide it. But that's always a little bit of a worry, is just to see how that's going to go. Most of the building, you all moved out of the courthouse, and that helped out the bid too. We made it clear to all the bidders during the pre-bid that there's there's almost nothing here that we consider to be unforeseen. They can stick their head up above every ceiling they need to see everything there is needed to see. We expected them to go through it and make themselves completely familiar with the building so that they understood what they're getting into. So that helps, I think. The fact that you were not in the building during bid, it just opens everything up so you can see it. So that's helpful.
In the older part renovation, how far down are you going to tear the interior?
Almost all the way. So
All the way to what?
well, it'll be
The
fairly
studs?
concrete. Yeah, it'll be fairly unrecognizable except for the marble lobby. So we're going to keep the main corridor walls will stay. The marble cladding in the lobby will stay. Marble cladding in the corridor walls will stay. Quarry tile floors stays. But almost nothing else will stay. So all those interior partitions dividing all the offices will be gone. The doors and windows, the doors inside will be gone.
We talked about the doors going from the hall into the offices that were keeping. What are you gonna do with those?
So most of the doors and frames will need to be replaced just because of fire code and ADA accessibility. There are a handful of doors that we will keep only because they're not primary doors into offices. So they're storage or they're just lesser used doors. We'd like to keep them maybe for posterity. Here's an old door, but for the most part, most of those doors and frames are going to need to be changed out just to hold up for the use they're going to get. But they will be new style and rail doors that
I
look
think
much
we ought
like
to have
what
a
you have.
garage sale.
Yeah,
We can make some money.
you've got a lot of doors in there that will be coming out that we won't need. The windows stay, so we're restoring the windows. We'll put in new storm windows, storm glazing to improve the energy efficiency of those windows. But we're not replacing the old wood windows with new windows. We're keeping the old windows.
I thought at one time you said those doors were like artwork. They were,
Yeah, so I was wrong about, because I thought that, and the judge, to his credit, has taken on a lot of sort of research on his own to sort of find stuff, and which is impressive. A lot of guys don't do that, but he found something out I didn't know. But there's that paint. It is painted finish. So you look at those doors in the corridors. They look like they're stained doors. They look like oak. They're graining, but they're not. It's painted. So it's a decorative painter has gone in and they've used techniques to paint those doors to make them look like stained oak, but they're not. They're pine or cypress. So that was a trick they used to do, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So I thought that was an original finish, perhaps, but it's not. It was probably done in the 1970s or 80s. So it is a dying trade, but it is not original to the building. So it is still a decorative finish that somebody did in the 80s. So part of what we have in our budget, by the way, is to hire a company named Evergreen. They do a lot of high-end paint finishes for the courtroom. So if we want to really go beyond just 2 or 3 paint colors on the wall, and we want to do something else a little nicer in that courtroom, Evergreen, they're the kind of company that does that kind of work. They can marbleize or they can do oak graining. He looked right at it and can tell with the finish that's on it that was a later finish, and he confirmed it.
But seriously, what Justice Nelson said, I mean, there's a lot of stuff of value in that courthouse. What are we gonna do with it? Such as those doors. I mean, people collect those old doors.
Yeah. Well, you retain the rights to all that stuff that gets demolished. So you tell us what you want to keep. And Judge and I have already had that conversation to a degree, like on the roof and things that are of value. We definitely want to keep, or I don't know, have a garage sale or something. Light fixtures we're keeping, so the original light fixtures in the lobby will be restored. They'll be cleaned up, rewired, relamped, and rehung. So the original light fixtures will stay.
I mean, just instead of it going to the landfill, I think we ought to do something with it, like the
Yeah.
pews and everything else, because everybody buys those old pews.
Well, most of the lighting become LED so that
Right.
it's more energy efficient.
Right, yeah, and we'll put LEDs in the new historic fixtures. So all new wiring and lamping, but, you know, with brass,
Yeah.
decorative glass globes will
What
stay.
what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna do, it's quite a fight, but, we're gonna put all that stuff on pallets for right now and store them somewhere, including every panel, every copper piece that comes off of the dome and Osceola. And, we're going to bring those off in such a way where they're not just torn up. We'll stack them up, we'll put them somewhere, and then at some time we'll come back and revisit what to, because there's a lot of different things that could be done with them. You can make artwork out of them. You could sell them, especially that copper on that dome. People are always interested in it, because it's 100 years old. It was the original. So, and the contractors didn't like it at all. But I don't feel like we could throw something away or put in the landfill that's 100 years old and a part of Mississippi County history.
I think a lot of people just like to buy that stuff, just as, hey, this come out of the Bible courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Come off those old courthouse. I mean, I know my wife would like to buy a bunch of them.
And I'll encourage you
Me too, because I decorate.
to look up Evergreen.
Yeah,
They're over the top.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in DC a month ago or so, I didn't tell you this, but I was in the cafeteria eating, and I ran into this young lady that had an Evergreen shirt on.
Yeah,
And there's 2 or 3 of them.
yeah.
And so I stopped and talked with him, and he's doing work there right now. He does work all over, I guess all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just happened to catch him here. He was in Pine Bluff doing some work, and he came to Blytheville. So he is quite.
They're conservators too, so they take, you know, relics. They were involved in the restoration of artifacts that came off the Titanic. So they do the really intricate,
I mean,
you know,
they're really high.
restoring finishes, research, conservation of materials, and so they're.
He'd given us a bid to actually go in. He's going to send a team up and flake that paint off and take samples and put some sort of. But I didn't think we want to know that bad what the original paint was, but or what all the paint colors were throughout the last 100 years. But I think it was $20,000.
Yeah, 20,000. And they work to our budget, so they're as good as they are, and the historic properties that they've worked on, as impressive as they are, they're not incapable of just doing something within budget. They understand budgets matter, so they told us of ways that we can make this look like we've spent, you know, $1 million on all this high-end painting, when it's not. It's really just printing at a high-quality print. It looks like somebody like Michelangelo was on his back, you know, doing the Sistine Chapel, but not really. So there's ways we can save a lot of money, but you get a lot of bang for your buck, kind of thing. So you can help with that. Which we would like. We think the courtroom will could use it. You know, it's a huge, impressive space. it's the marquee, it's the centerpiece of the whole project is that courtroom.
Speaking of the courtroom, just curiosity, will the balcony remain? Will it be
Yes.
restored?
Mhm.
'Cause I know right now it's considered unsafe.
Yeah, we are adding a new guardrail to height, in the balcony. There'll be seating up there. We're gonna add handrails on the stair and improve the lighting. So, people could go and use the balcony if they want to. Limit it to 49 is what we told the fire marshal, just to limit the number of people that will be up there. Kind of enter at your own risk, because the stairs are steep as they are. The winders are not to code.
It will not meet ADA standards.
No, it won't mean ADA. But you can, it doesn't have to. So there's ADA accessibility to that courtroom. ADA doesn't say that every space, everywhere has to be accessible, especially in a store. But people in a wheelchair can access the court proceedings. There will be ADA accessibility to the courtroom.
Anyone else have anything?
What's the next thing we're gonna see?
Chain link fence, probably. They'll put a chain link fence around the
Soon?
perimeter. Yeah. CNI's ready to do it next week, once they get the contract going. And you tell us to move ahead, they're ready to go. So the first thing they need to do is secure the site. And then the elevator needs to be demolished. So we want to take down that elevator in order to give more room to Renaissance Roofing to do roofing over there on that side. So the first thing that you'll see are chain link fence and a lot of dumpsters.
Actually,
Have
we
we
make,
given them an order to proceed?
Not yet. We haven't. We have not yet.
we may be doing some other things. I spoke with Energy this morning, and they are, they're gonna charge $36,000 to take the underground utilities out. Especially, we need that pole that sits right up in the northwest corner out so we can get the scaffolding in there. And so that'll come out. Actually, there's already work being done. If you'll go by there and look, we've excavated 2 corners of the raised elevation, or the raised, that concrete,
Yeah.
old Safeway building,
Uh-huh.
in order to set the poles. So, the electric poles.
Right.
And then, we've got some logistical problems, because we're gonna take the electricity down, and we're going to drop the tower, and then move the tower, and put the electricity back up, and go around the perimeter of the property. And we've got to take down the old extension building. And then, I think at that point, we'll have the temporary service in from Energy. And then, we'll be probably putting the fences up. And this is gonna go by really fast.
Mhm.
But like I said, we've already started taking that raised foundation up.
How quick you think we'll be working on that tower? That's gonna be a project.
I think this thing's fixing to just fly. I think it's been kinda slow up till right now, but everything needs to be done today. And then we had some problems with Energy because of the $36,000, county government doesn't pay, in advance. We have to have it rendered. So we've come up with, and I'll share this with you later, I just come out of the, discussions, a little bit ago, but they're gonna come up with a contract. I should have that email maybe by tomorrow. It's gonna describe how that, we can raise our minimum, which is, actually, we're already above that, $900 a month. And I'll know more later rather than me talk off the cuff,
Sure.
but yeah, we've already started on a lot of it. And if you'll go by the building, I've taken, paint, and spray paint where the new, addition is gonna come off of the north end of that building. And on both sides and across, we're about 24 feet from Chickasaw Street.
That was gonna be my next question, how far, if the city council, decides not to let us close it, we're gonna be within 8 steps
Yeah.
I mean, 24, for me, a step's about 3 foot, about a yard.
Yeah,
And so it'd be 8 or 9, 10 steps for a shorter person
yeah,
from the edge of the building, and they're in the street.
and they're in the street. It's 66 feet,
How
and
much-
that's about what the other
How much
building.
are we gonna have to, because the courthouse sits quite a bit above
Yep.
street level.
Yeah.
So how much is the elevation difference between?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge, besides the fact that vans could be potentially backing out of the Sally Port directly into the street, because there's not much of a driveway there. So that's a challenge. But the grade change is gonna be severe to get down to where Chickasaw is right now, up to where the Sally Port needs to be. In that span of distance, to get up that change in elevation, it'd be a pretty steep little apron to make that work. So it won't be pleasant.
Do you know how big a what are we talking, 2, 3 feet?
I'd have to study, so the finished floor is at, say, 256 and a half, and the current, I don't know, the current one is, I'd have to look at the old survey to see where I'm seeing 255, but it's down lower than that, I think, so it may be, 2.5, maybe 2.5,
It looks like
3
you
feet.
probably brought that up.
Yeah.
Because of landscaping, I'm sure you're gonna have to bring that whole area up.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the survey to kind of do the math to see what that difference is,
It
but
looks like where the parking lot is across the street, there's gonna be some building up for it.
yeah, that's right.
Because just standing there looking at it, I was thinking there was probably at least a 2 to 3 foot difference.
That sounds about right.
And by the time you put that over 24 feet,
Yeah.
you're,
A serious grade. And
Someone's
trying to
gonna
back
need
out
to-
into
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah, I mean, the vans would have to be escorted almost. I mean, to get somebody to back out of the Sallyport into the street is a tricky thing to do. So to be safe, you'd have to have an extra guy out there, helping the traffic, stopping traffic to help the guy back out. Yeah.
I know for handicapped, you're supposed to have a 1 inch and 12 feet rise, or
Right.
12 inches rise. So you're talking, this is probably gonna be like probably at least a 7 or 8 and 12.
Yeah, that'd be another issue, is wheelchair accessibility. I mean, it was designed to make sure that we had wheelchair accessibility from the parking lot to the front entrance, but if the street goes through, you'll have ADA to get you down from that parking space to street level, across the street, up to the new courthouse on the other side. So it's a little bit, more to it to do ADA. So,
Switch gears just a second. What's timing like on the Osceola project?
On the-
Coincidental or?
on the roofing,
Mhm.
Probably, well, I've asked that question to the roofer, and he can't tell me just yet, but what he's got in mind is really to finish Blavel and go straight to Osceola. So if the Blavel tile takes, 6 to 8 weeks to get the tile roof in, and it takes maybe 2 to 3 months to finish that project, it's probably summer.
Yeah, but that's
before
not
the summer.
bad.
Yeah,
I mean, if Osceola is looking to have a new roof, maybe by the end of summer, I think that's wonderful.
I don't know if it'll have, I think that may be when they begin it. I don't know if it'll actually be done by then. But I think what they're thinking is that the crews would move from Blavel over to Osceola once they get going. And when there's more work to do on the front end for Osceola, they've got to get down here on site to work on Blavel, and then they need to begin documenting the Osceola roof to start doing all the shop drawings and details to replicate all the details, the decorative details on a copper dome. So we have to go through a process of just looking at all the shop drawings before they can order that material. So I'm saying probably best case is they're actually starting on it in the summer. It may not be done until more like end of the year, probably best case.
Would you or the judge, either one, I don't care which, would y'all tell us exactly what you're expecting to do to Osceola, to the dome?
We're gonna put, the substructure is good. I think there are some pieces maybe inside there. Have y'all ever been up inside that dome?
I
It's
have.
very interesting. I think you should take a trip. It's quite something to see, but, we're gonna take all the copper off, all of the slate,
No.
not all the slate.
So most of the slate stays behind. There's a section of slate that was replaced 30 or 40 years ago that is failing, and that part needs to be replaced.
In fact, he looked at it just, and he said it was the wrong kind of slate. They make two different,
Yeah, they grade slate, you know.
and that slate absorbed water.
This
And
is a
so
lower
you can
grade.
see it from, actually I've got it on my phone, but you can see it from the aerial view.
Yeah.
That was taken with a drone,
Mhm.
and what section that is, and
Mhm.
and hopefully what I'd like to do too, you and I haven't talked about this in a while, but you know that piece that's missing in the corner?
The terracotta?
No, the big, let's see, it's on the northeast corner.
That you're talking about slate or?
Well,
copper,
it's
or-
a piece of the, I've called it the cornice, or, you know, it just fell off.
You're talking about, yeah, that's terracotta, the cornice.
Oh, is that terracotta?
Mhm. Yeah.
I didn't know what that,
Yeah.
and, but we'd have to have that,
Correct.
that would be a difficult, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, so that's not in the bid right now. It's not in the cost. But it's part of the reason why I'm so happy Renaissance Roofing is on this project, because they have relationships with terracotta companies that can do this. That's a piece that would have to be fabricated. So we would need to talk to a terracotta company that would make, you know, a custom piece.
It's
to
like
match.
this, what was it?
Yeah, it's huge, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And you'd have to kind of, you walk around the building, you can see it. It looked like at one time it just fell off, and I
Yeah.
guess somebody picked it up and threw it away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there are, and we've looked at it before with the Renaissance Roofing people. If you look really carefully, it kind of goes to some mastery, you know, some of these people that built these buildings years ago. But for all this time, I thought this was all limestone, and this is all limestone. And we sent off a piece of this to Indiana Limestone. They had their geologists look at it under a microscope and say, yeah, that's limestone, without a doubt. But if you look up close, you can't tell this from the ground, by the way, but that from this piece that I'm pointing at up is terracotta. So they just matched it, you know, with the finish. Terracotta looks like limestone, so from the ground it all looks like it's the same thing, but it's not. So limestone's a natural stone. Terracotta is manufactured. They used a glaze on it to look like Indiana limestone. But these pieces up here need some work, especially the ones in the corners. So whereas most of these pieces here are set back into the masonry and they're securely anchored, these corner pieces, and there's 8 of them all around the building, they're just hanging out there, you know, and they're only supported at the corners, and they're flopping a little bit. So, you know, we've talked to Renaissance Roofing about helping to make sure those things are stabilized. But if we waited, you know, another 10, 15, 20 years, maybe less, those pieces would start to fall off, like an OCL.
So the OCL roof is gonna be almost completely brand new then?
Brand new.
Shiny?
Oh, it'd be really shiny.
Very, very shiny. Yeah, the copper. Well,
And this will be shiny in the downspout. You know, the copper
On the
downspouts.
corners?
yeah, that's right.
Nice.
And you know, he was talking about the windows, and now I'm looking at them made me think of it. Aaron and his team had went around and they had a diagram of every window in that building and a critique of what shape it's in, the wood, I mean, everything has been looked at with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, and that's just to help the bidders know what they're getting.
And did you do the doors the same way? I don't remember if the doors was.
No, just the doors that we knew we were going to keep, which isn't very many,
Yeah.
since most of them are going to get changed out. It's mostly new doors. We measured them just to match them, so the new doors will look like the old ones did. You know, style and rail construction, not solid or not slab doors that you see these days in modern buildings, but style and rail, you know, old-fashioned style and rail.
I'm gonna ask one last question, especially landscape drawing. Are the trees that are in the courtyard now, are they gonna stay?
That plan, I think, shows which ones stay and which ones go. So I think there's, yeah, those are the existing ones that stay. I think there's an existing one there that stays. So the plan does show some of those larger, more mature trees to stay. That can still be, debated and discussed as which trees you keep. But in general terms, our landscape architects don't like to take down good old trees.
I know.
As long as they're good.
Some have heart
Good.
attacks over the trees before they were built.
Yeah, the old photograph that I've seen seems to show those trees as young saplings. You can almost see what they look
Probably
like.
been there as long as I can remember. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lee. No one else have any other questions? This is mainly sessions that we can talk with the architect, see where we're at. And I think the only question is, right now, when we discuss with the judge, do we need to look at hiring this Porter Browning to oversee the construction, or do you think you're gonna have the time to make all these construction meetings?
He's asking, do you want him?
Oh, well, and when we're in the middle of this, I'm trying to think of what came up, but, and maybe it was the low bid that did it, but, $108,000 is a huge amount of money, but when you think about what the possibility is that could happen,
One mistake
what,
would pay for that.
yeah. And, the fact that he would catch it, and if we didn't catch it until 5 years from now, and I got complete faith in CNI. I think they're a good choice, but at the same time, the Allied Technology building started leaking not too long after. But I spoke with Dr. Shimwell, and he spoke very highly of it. And they've used them over a period of time. They did quite a bit of work out there, and they continue to use them, and he sung their praises. And the young man that brought the bid over, his name is Austin. Did I talk to you about that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, or were you there at Gosnell when Coach Austin or the principal?
Jerry Austin.
That's his son.
Oh, really?
Jeremy.
And
His daughter used to be
she's still,
Main Street Bible at one
Well,
point.
she's
Oh,
at
what?
5.
she works at A&C now.
Courtney, yeah.
Yeah. So they're kind of hometown connected, and
But don't you think Brownlee would be a good,
I would be, I can't read a blueprint,
me either?
and, I would have, besides the time, I'm not gonna be able to be there every day.
Don't you think it'd be appropriate to consider that 108,000 as part of the bond money?
Yes. Absolutely.
How quick would you like to see something like that happen? Or how
Whenever
quick
y'all-
does Aaron think we need to have somebody like that?
He needs to be brought on as soon as the project starts.
If I could go back, I'd have had him in the very beginning, so he could have seen the drawings and known, now he's got, he's very good. I've met with him several times.
His background actually is get involved earlier on. And he usually helps owners go through the process of finding an architect,
I don't know.
setting a budget, and eventually hiring a contractor. So he's more used to coming in earlier in the project.
And even though he's not under contract, he's already provided a lot of help and assistance.
He coordinates with you and you and the judge, or how does that work?
Well, he would answer to the judge. So contractually, he would answer to the judge. But he would be attending the same meetings I'm attending. So I think he would be able to, I think he gives a second set of eyes and opinion besides mine to the judge on an issue. There's no doubt that there'll be some disagreements between me and CNI. It just happens on a lot of projects, but he can be he can help the judge, help you guys understand another opinion on really how to resolve something.
And a consultant such as him, see, he'll be critiquing Aaron just as much as he's critiquing CNI.
And I assume he would have the authority if he saw something that was being installed that was not up to bid or to the specs, he would have the authority to go to you and stop
That's
right
right.
there or whatever.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
I think it'd be money well spent
I
myself.
think we need a motion to send this over to finance for them to discuss the possibility of including that in our bid, and the people on the committee, myself, Betty, and Miss Hinton.
Okay. You may make the motion to send it over to finance.
Appreciate that.
I second it.
All right, is there any other discussion on it? I'll take discussion from anyone.
I got one little thing I want to ask the judge and maybe include Kelly too. How are we going to pay him? Do we need a slot?
How we gonna, pay him?
Pay him.
You know,
Do we need a county slot or can we do it outside just in the realm of contract?
I would just do it as a contract.
Okay.
Slot, it'll be contract.
I think that'd be
All right.
contract.
I don't think it'll be anything different than, and I'll have to go back and review the procurement laws, and I don't think it would affect them, but I think it would be no different than a part of that building.
Okay. That's trying not to,
And, yeah,
Right,
just
exactly.
send us a bill and we'll pay it.
I think it's cool. And the quicker the better, is what you think?
You know, if I could go back, if I knew then what I know now, I would have liked to have had him back this time last year.
Okay, so what he just brought up, bringing it to finance committee, we're just now fixing to have our December regular meeting tonight, and the next finance meeting, regular finance meeting, wouldn't be till like the third week of January. That's a month away. But we could have another finance meeting if you think it needs to go to finance.
Y'all do it the way you want to. but I
What do
mean,
you recommend?
It's not, you know, it's not coming out of, it's coming out of the bond money, so, you know, I don't think it's necessary. but
Actually,
I-
that would fall, I guess, under Energy and Properties purview.
I think it would too.
So you want to amend that motion to allow that he go ahead and be hired?
Yes. I do want to amend that motion, that he go ahead and hire him immediately. I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Justice Burke, what are you're thinking over there?
No, I'm just thinking, man, this is getting good.
We're just trying to-
Just we're cutting out committees, that's.
We're trying to dot the i's and cross the t's as quick as we can.
I'm a Baptist.
I'm Baptist too, we got too many committees.
We've already got that meeting, we've already got the money sitting there for this.
Hey, we got too many
It's a
committees,
good
I'm not
idea.
getting paid for this.
I think we need it.
My question now is, do we need to approve the full court's approval?
I don't think so, do you, Judge?
I don't think so.
I think we're good with that. We got 8 of us here anyway, and if there was any great dissension, Bubba,
Yeah, we're not
Justice
appropriate-
Burke,
I'm fine with it.
We're not appropriating the bond issue money.
That's right.
I mean,
It's already there.
I'd say let him hire him.
Hope you're right.
Me too.
I'm gonna say hire. Sounds like we need to get him involved as soon as possible, because I think you're right, we probably should have had him a year ago, but hindsight's 20/20.
I can do this better next time.
A long time.
We live 100 years.
I don't know that I'll be here.
Yeah.
All right.
I know I
Is there any
would.
other business to come before the meeting of the property committee?
No, Lord.
If not, we stand adjourned.
Did you get a piece of that strawberry